Welcome to the Realizations Podcast. I'm Andrea Gordon, your host, and I'm excited to explore the world of real estate with you. In a world where perceptions often overshadow reality, Realizations seeks to redefine what it means to be a realtor. Join me as we peel back the layers of the industry, uncovering inspiring stories and celebrating the good in real estate. Whether you're a homeowner, a fellow realtor, or simply curious, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Realizations, where perceptions meet reality. Let's dive right in. Welcome everyone to Realizations. I'm hoping that my producers use some of this pre-banter because we had some really interesting conversation before we came on today. So I'm really happy today to have Mitch Ribak on with me. And Mitch has he's been in everything, frankly. But he's worked in real estate, would you say 24 years, did you say?
24 years, yeah.
Yeah, and he's been a broker owner. He's been an independent agent. He's had a big team. He's handled 120 agents at his own brokerage. He's written many books about how essentially to give yourself back the time of your life, making it possible for you to actually have a life at the same time that you're still practicing real estate at a high level and making enough money to support yourself and your family. So welcome to the show, Mitch. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thanks.
I love your what we were talking about before when you said, how do children spell love? Time, Time. So tell us a little bit about how you came to these conclusions and how you want to help realtors going ahead to create more time in their lives.
Sure. So, we talked about, I'm a chronic entrepreneur. I've owned 27 companies. I've worked 80 to 100 hours a week up until I was 60. I'm 64. And that's from the age of 19 on, except for a little 6-year window where I owned a paintball business and made more money then than I make today. And I worked 3 days a week. And only 7 months here. But the heck was I thinking get rid of that. But anyways, I was the first online dating service. I've owned ad agencies. I've owned marketing companies. I own flower business. I've owned a restaurant. I've owned a software company. I've done a lot of stuff. And the reason why my book is called The Big Lie is when I turned 60, I took a look back at my life, which is what we do when we turn every 10 years. If you're 30, if you're 28, you're going to do it at 30. If you're 38, you're going to do it at 40.
Yep.
And the reality is I can't tell you 5 things I do with my kids.
Yeah.
And that hurts. I lost $82 million in 2000. It was a pretty
Whoa.
bad day.
Yeah, I know.
It was about 3 days actually. And after that, I was back to normal. But knowing that I did not see my kids grow up hurts way more. Right. And so I'm on a huge mission now to show people, and not just realtors. I have a new book coming out that I'm working on right now called The Big Lie for Entrepreneurs. Not just realtors, but people that are in business themselves kill themselves. Right. They work so hard and it's an addiction. Right. It becomes an addiction. It was for me. I was up in working by 4 or 5 o'clock every morning till 10 or 11 o'clock every night. My
Yeah.
entire life.
You're living to work as opposed to working to live.
Well, what I realized at 60 years old, which is why I wrote the last book, the Big Lie for Real Estate, is I never owned a business. I owned my crappy job, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't, and I will tell you that almost everybody I know out there right now who runs a business owns a crappy job. They don't own a business. If you can't walk away from your business for a week or 2 or 3 or a month without the phone ringing nonstop, which is a realtor life, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been teaching realtors, and I'm getting ready to start teaching entrepreneurs this, that it's time to make the business work for you, not you work for the business.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
going to truly have a business. You have to understand the leverage. I tell people I work 30 hours a week, not a minute more. And because I have my guitar I have to play, and I have guitar, and I have my grandkids I got to play with. So I have things and golf. So I have things I have to do that are more important to me than work. But I will tell you that I do 60 hours worth of work in 30 hours.
Yeah.
And so that's what I teach is efficient. And when I'm not working, like I go to dinner, this is my grandkids, by the way, too. That doesn't even go in the restaurant with me ever.
Mm-hmm.
It sits in my car. I
Right.
don't, at 6 o'clock at night, it's off.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot call me after 6 o'clock. Well, you call me when you want. I'm not going to answer. So you have to set those boundaries in your life because when you get to be this old guy and you look back at your life and you realize you miss your kids grow up, there's nothing worse. It's the worst thing in my life. And I have no regrets. I've had a great life. I've had a lot of fun making millions of dollars, losing millions of dollars, making it again, losing it again. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You just hope
Mm-hmm.
you end up on top. But the lie is we tell ourselves all the time we're doing that for our family, which is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing that for ourselves. We're trying to feed our own ego. So the key, and there's a great book, I don't know if you've ever read it, called Die with Zero. Um,
I know of it.
it's
Read.
a phenomenal book. Changed my life. I read it in 2021, the same time I turned 60. And it changed my life. I mean, I literally went from 60 hours a week. I had cut down to 60 hours a week from 100. And
Mm-hmm.
I went from 60 to 30 hours in a day. I
Mm-hmm.
came in and hired two new employees that day. Well, I put the ads in that day. And
Mm-hmm.
even my general manager same thing. She's been with me for 20 years. And I made her do the same thing because I want her to have a life too. Because we both work 100 hours a week. And it was the most freeing thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm playing a band with my grandkids. I have a baseball game today at 6 o'clock with my grandson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fly out to Illinois to see my other grandson probably in the next 2 weeks for a couple of days. And I'll probably go from there to California to see my granddaughter for a few days. And we'll come back home and realizing I can do all of my work now in 30 hours and I can do it efficiently because I have the right system set up. And
Right.
that's what I'm trying to teach people how to set the right systems, how to understand your time, how do you grow a business, a true
Mm-hmm.
business, and have freedom. So stop chasing money, start chasing freedom. That's my message these days.
That's a beautiful message. And in terms of how you came to this conclusion, by the way, do you have a good relationship with your kids at this point?
Yeah, yeah, we do actually. They don't know that I wasn't there until they start seeing some of my stuff. I don't think they've read it. My youngest son read my book, so he knows. My oldest son, I don't think has read my book. Um, but I was always there
Hmm.
physically. I was just never present.
Right,
And
right.
little kids don't know you're not present.
Being present for your own life is really, really important. My motto right now is if not now, when? So when the pandemic started, I just had a revelation. Similar thing. I was working 100 hours a week. Just, I would sell, $100 million in real estate and I'm not a team. And it was killing me basically. And I didn't realize it, but then I started realizing, wow, I'm like sitting in a chair 8 hours a day. If I'm not sitting at my desk, I'm sitting in a car. I'm not taking care of the human being that is me. And so during that time period, I realized that with the pandemic, what have you, I was busier than ever, but I took on less stuff. I didn't take everything. I started getting a little choosier, and it didn't affect my production whatsoever. It just affected my time, actually. So when you're writing these books, out of curiosity, do you end up going on speaking tours and that kind of thing as well?
Yeah, I've been speaking in public since 1998.
Hmm.
Um, I've spoken to, crowds of 5, 6, 7,000 people and crowds of 20. 20 is tough, I will tell you, because when you make a joke and only 20% laugh, that's only four people laughing at your bad
Right,
joke. But
right.
but no, I do. I love speaking in public. I tell people that I'm from Boston, so they better hold on because I talk really fast. But yeah, it's funny. My general manager said to me recently, she says, "Well, why are you doing all this stuff? Because we're just launching the new coaching business for realtors right now. I'm going to launch one for entrepreneurs." And she goes, "You were just talking about retiring last year."
Hmm.
And when I've been trying to figure out how to message what I wanted to, and I made a post. It's kind of how I got here. When I made a post on one of the real estate uh, social media pages about stop chasing money and start chasing freedom.
Hmm.
And I had like 250 responses, all basically saying, "Oh my God, you just told me my life."
Yeah, yeah,
And
no,
because it's
totally.
everybody's life. And so I'm in a beautiful point in my life. Money's not an object to me. I have
Hmm.
plenty of money. I'm not rich. I've lost all my money, which is great. Don't
Yeah.
care about it. I have enough money to live really comfortably. I have a great income coming in that pays for my wife's pocketbooks, which is all she cares about. I'm still trying to figure that part out. But her purses have made more money than my investments in stocks. So I'm going to listen to her and buy a lot of purses. But but it so when Pat said, "Why are you doing this?" It's because I haven't impacted enough people yet.
Hmm.
And the impact I thought I was doing the last 20 years in real estate was wrong. I was
Hmm.
teaching people how to sell more homes,
Right.
but I was missing the second part. How do you sell more homes and create freedom? So now I figured I have, 64. What do I got? 10 more years left, 15 more, 20 if I'm lucky.
Hmm.
So if I'm going to spend the rest of my life now just kind of trying to impact one agent at a time. And I'm working with right now, I have 6 teams that I'm converting to my new modern model, which is a freedom-based model. They're all excited about it. And they're already seeing I have a team in Orlando I'm helping right now. She's already cut back from 60 down to 50 hours. We're going to get it down to 40 hours next call. And part of that and I'll just give you a quickie on this. It's understanding where you spend your time.
Right.
Nobody does that. Like I make when you come on with me as a coaching student, and some people I charge, some people I don't, depends who you are. If I like you, I don't always charge everybody. But I should charge more. Don't tell my coach that I said that because he'll yell at me. But but the first thing I do is I make everybody check every minute of every day for 7 days.
Hmm.
And when you do that, you will be shocked at how much time you waste.
Hmm.
That's why I say I do 60 hours worth of work in 30 hours because I don't waste time.
Right.
I'm a master time blocker.
Me
I,
too.
I'm that's my life is time blocking. But I also learned to say no.
Hmm.
I say no a lot. I never used to say no.
Hmm.
I
That's
say
what I
no
was
a lot
talking
now.
about. That's the thing I learned during the pandemic was you don't take everything. You don't have to take it all on. You really, really don't. During all of this time, I wrote a book. I wrote a children's book called Yo-Yo in a Tree. I actually also still really pursue my theater work. And I went back this year to graduate school. I'm getting my PhD. So,
Nice, excellent.
and I'm on track to do somewhere between 80 and 100 million this year.
Isn't that
So,
crazy?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And you can, and the thing is, but that's not what we're taught.
hmm.
That's why I call it the big lie. When I was growing up, so I was blessed. I had 5 mentors. I had my dad who was amazing, and then I had 4 friends of mine that dad's own businesses, and they all had the same thing, except my dad. My dad had different messaging, but same concept. My dad said, "I don't care whether you're a garbage man or a CEO of a big company, just be the best you can be." That was
Yeah.
very powerful to me, right?
Yeah.
And I've lived that my whole life. Yeah, but all my mentors said, Mitch, if you put in 800 hours a week and you work your butt off, you're going to be successful, which they all did, and they were all successful. But now looking back at their lives, they missed their kids grow up too,
Right.
right?
Right.
And they didn't tell you that. So I'm on a mission. Nobody tells you that. Everybody says how to make money. Nobody
Right.
tells you how to create freedom,
Right.
right?
Right.
And the reality is, I want you to go out there and with your 8-year-old kids and 8 and 10-year-old kids and take them to Europe for a month,
Yeah.
right? And go spend time. And you can do all your work from your phone now, from a Zoom call. I have an agent that I work with that I've been helping for 20 years. One of my really good friends now at this point. She does 75 to 100 listings a year. She doesn't go in the house at all.
Hmm.
She does every single
Wow.
listing appointment on Zoom.
Wow.
She goes, she works 30 hours a week, sells 100 homes a year working 30 hours a week. And she only does listings.
Wow. I'm
And
ni- I'm 92% listings. My typical buyer client is someone whose house I've sold out from under them. But I biff off pretty much all buyers to different agents, and they're not on a team. I get a referral fee. That's how I've ended up working that over the years.
so I'll give you a little tidbit on this is a little part of my book. Um, so you're giving away the farm. I know you make a lot of money. That's besides the point, right?
Right.
So you're giving away 75% of this revenue
Hmm.
where you could maintain all of that without doing any of the work.
And
So
who would I pay and how would I do that?
so I own show property. I have a buyer coming in now to let me I have a buyer I'm showing this weekend for the first time. I haven't showed property in like 8 years. But I want it, but I haven't done it. And I train a lot of agents. I go, I should probably show property for just to see what it's like. And
Right, right.
I haven't actually done the buyer brokerage agreement, all
Hmm.
that stuff. So I did this first buyer, which I don't understand why anybody's having a problem with the buyer brokerage agreement. It was a piece of cake.
We should have had them all along, but
No, they're great. They're great. But
thing.
what I do is, so the biggest time suck for realtors is buyers.
Oh yeah.
Okay? Listings are easy. I pay buyers hourly, buyer agents hourly. So I pay, and then I give them 10%. So I'm going to give you an example on a $400,000 sale. On a typical team model, by the way, I'm going to give you 50%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so on a $10,000 commission for a $400,000 sale, which is our average here, I'm going to give you $5,000 and I'm going to get 5,000. I still got to pay the transaction coordinator, the assistant, the
Right.
marketing, right?
Right.
You get $5,000 free. And all you did was open doors.
Right.
Because if you're on a team, that means you're newer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my assistant's writing the offer. I'm negotiating it because you can't do it. You're new, and you're going to watch. You're going to learn. So I've been for years now. I pay agents locally here 25, $30 an hour, and then if they write an offer, I give them 10%. If I write an
Wow.
offer, I give them 10%. So instead of paying out $5,000 in that scenario, I pay 11 or 1,200 bucks.
Right.
But more importantly, I save all my time.
Right. Right.
So the big question I get then is, well, how do you explain that to the customer, right? And it's really so, Andrea, let me explain how I run my business. But you'll never hear me say how I do my job. That drives me crazy. Let me explain how I run my business. My superpower is finding your home, which, by the way, I still do that. I like looking for homes. It's fun on the
Mm-hmm.
MLS. Um, my superpower is finding your home, negotiating the best deal you'll ever get, and making sure it closes. That's what my superpower is. I'm really, really good at it. However, what I don't do is I don't show property. I have agents that work for me that will open the doors to show you houses because anybody can show houses, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
make sure they do exactly what you just did. I do that, and they always say yes, so they shake their head yes. And if they don't, which no one's ever said no, no one's never said that or not agreed, I will continue till they agree. And then I just put it out. I have 140 local agents here that are in my organization with EXP. I will literally send out an email. I'll get 15 people willing to show profit for $25 an hour.
Wow. That would probably be a little more challenging here, to be honest with you, because the going rate.
I do it in San Diego, so you're not paying $25 an hour there. In San Diego, we're doing it for $75 an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta pay them. It's $25 here because that's our rate here. So everywhere we go, everywhere I'm doing it's a different price point.
Right.
But the 10% is a lot more money in your area. But
Mm-hmm.
when I did my two teams I'm doing in San Diego, they were paying their agents $3,500 an hour basically to show houses.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear.
And it's
Wow.
free. And,
Wow.
and if I
So,
and even listings on a listing standpoint, I wouldn't even if I was going to do this today, which I have no desire to go back to selling houses at a high level ever again. If I was going to, I wouldn't even do listing appointments. I'd pay someone $250. I would teach them my listing presentation, which is phenomenal, and I would pay them $250 to go on the listing appointment, and I'd give them 10%.
wow. Wow. Well, this is food for thought. Really, really interesting stuff. And you are wonderful. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about so you are functioning as a coach for a lot of people, it sounds like. Um,
Yes, that's most of my life is coaching right now.
mhm,
I think I told you earlier, I have 2,050 people in my organization with EXP, so I'm there to help them.
mhm.
The ones that reach out. Uh, I love helping people grow. It's just fun.
Right. I can see that about you. You're a very delightful guest. I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach you?
Sure. Easiest way is my email is really tough. It's Mitch at mitchrealty.com. Uh,
Okay.
so that's the easy one. Or you can look at Mitch Ribak on social media. I'm the only Mitch Ribak in the world, I believe. I haven't found another one.
Uh-huh.
And so you can find me on social media. I'm on everything. But my easiest way is an email, Mitch at mitchrealty.com. And I'm glad
Excellent.
to give advice to anybody. I do 15-minute strategy sessions all the time where people just kind of looking at their business saying, all right, well, just do this.
Okay. Okay. And your books. Can you give us the title of your books again, please?
Sure. So the original one, the 100 Mile per Hour Marketing, which is my internet book, it's outdated at this point. So it's just I wouldn't. If you're a newer agent, so you have your real estate license now. What is
Mm-hmm.
really really good? It gives you systems and lead generation ideas and how to grow your business. And then my new one, if you're a successful agent like yourself, Andrea, it's they're called The Big Lie. They're all on Amazon. If you put my name on Amazon,
They'll all pop
and
up.
yeah, and there is one more. I have a funny book on there. It's not a joke book, but it's a funny book. It's a everybody's like, Mitch, we need a new book. So I wrote a book called The Rockstar Sales Guide. Don't do chicken shit marketing. And it's a 3-page book. It says, first page says don't email, second page says don't text, and I won't swear because the third page is a swear, but it says pick up the friggin' phone. That's the third page. That's the whole book. I've sold over 10,000 copies of that for $1.
That is hysterical. Well, you're lovely. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for being on the podcast. And I think there were some really wonderful nuggets here for everybody. Take good care. Bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Realizations Podcast. I hope our conversation has shed light on the true essence of real estate and the people behind it. As we wrap up, I want to extend my gratitude to our listeners for their support and engagement. Your feedback drives the heart of this podcast, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing to the Realizations Podcast and leaving a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our message of positivity in the real estate industry. Until next time, remember to keep an open mind, embrace empathy, and always seek the good in every situation. I'm Andrea Gordon signing off from Realizations. See you next time.